Hello, everybody, and welcome to our debate about the colonization of Mars. So, my name is Jacob Brinkerhoff, and
I'm Dylan Blackner.
Today we're going to be discussing economics and monetary investment for the exploration and colonization of Mars. So, first, we are both going to discuss our opinions, and then we are going to talk about it and to talk about why our views conflict and what our final conclusion will be. So, I'm going to grace Dylan with the opportunity to speak first.
All right. Well, I am here to debate with Jake, and I am in the opinion in the stance that the colonization of Mars is just overall not worthwhile for a variety of reasons. Number one is the potential risk that it plays to human life, just the environment that there is on Mars, and the risk to humanity just to get them there is exponential risks just to the lives that could be taken. Second of all is the economical cost. Why is all that money being put into Mars colonization where it could be put into helping people here on Earth? And the third one is just the hypotheticals that exist with colonizing Mars. A lot of what is and a lot of hopes and dreams, but not really founded on very many scientific facts or data.
Okay, awesome, fantastic, and I'm excited, and I want to talk a little bit about, why I believe this is such a great idea. I think that there's a lot of monetary value to be made. There's a lot of investments and returns that we can make from this exploration. I think that not only in the exploration of Mars, but as well as the technology that will come from this advancement. There's a lot of evidence that shows, when there is motivation and a goal, that there is going to be technology that advances towards that goal. And I just want to discuss that. And if you would like, I will let you kind of lead off with the first argument. So.
All right. Well, my first argument is just the potential risk that there is to the life of those involved, right? You can go on YouTube. It's no great secret. You can go on there and you can see all kinds of spaceship failures that have ended up killing tons of people. For example, January 24th, 1986, they sent a crew of 9 people up into orbit to do studies and stuff in outer space, as NASA did back then. And these 3 little seals called O-rings that were supposed to help seal the combustion material had a little tiny air bubble in them, which broke the seal and ended up killing the 9 inhabitants on the flight. And it was a little tiny air seal, and they were just trying to get into the atmosphere. And granted, it was 1986. We have come a lot further, and that, space travel has become a lot more integrated and a lot more of a science. But we're trying to get to Mars. We're not trying to get to the atmosphere. We are trying to get to a whole other planet where the environment is different, where the atmosphere is different. The gravity is 34% less than Earth's, and we don't really know what long-term effects that decrease in gravity will have on a person's muscles, on a person's skeletal system. Just potential loss of human life in and of itself, I think, greatly outweighs the financial costs are extreme, but the human lives that are at stake for this, I think is a great concern.
And it is very hard to attack, an ethical dilemma like that. It's very hard to talk about, is one life worth more than, what we'll get in return? And, I don't know if I really have a response to that because, what is the value of a human life? Is it worth more than the scientific research and technology that will yield from this? And I like what you said, that technology has come a long way. And, if you look at SpaceX, okay, so we're talking a lot about SpaceX today, and because they are the lead people in making us and helping us colonize Mars, okay, and they developed a rocket, Starship number 15, right, and that's a technologically brilliant idea, and Elon Musk is a brilliant man, and the soundness they go out into the atmosphere and they've come back in 4 times, I think, and they successfully landed and reused that rocket. And they have tested it, and with space travel always going to be safe, of course not. And but I think that if we look at the monetary investment we can make, not only from investing in these companies, as the regular consumer, average everyday citizen, we can invest in the stocks and we can make a lot of monetary investment back from that, but as well as mineral collection. Do you know what the mineral deuterium is?
No.
So it's used a lot in fusion reactors and to help, process those plants. And on Earth, it's found about, I guess 34 out of a million atoms or something like that. Something weird. But in Mars, it's almost 8 times more bountiful in Mars and easier to collect and to gather that. And so if we were looking at just resource collection, we could go to Mars and we could gather that deuterium and we could bring it back to Earth, and it would almost pay for the whole process of being to and from that, trip words. And I think that that's very important to realize, because it is going to cost a lot to colonize Mars, right? It's going to cost, they said 1.3 trillion, I think, is SpaceX's prediction, into getting Mars and getting people there, into setting up a colony, into setting up places where they can live. And I just think it's important that we, realize that, gathering these elements and gathering these things and the money that will come from technology is going to help pay for some of these trips and the expenditures that will come from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, an important thing to look at, is that, there will be a lot of money that can be made that will come back to Earth and that could go into benefiting humans and benefiting society.
And I agree, Mars does have a different composition than the Earth. That's why currently there is no life on it, because the composition is different. Just to kind of talk about what you just said, you know the periodic table, right?
Yeah.
There's like 130 or something elements on it or something.
Exactly.
Right? 27 of those elements were synthesized in a lab by humans.
Mm-hmm.
You got all kinds of elements that were actually created in a lab that have been gone into medical equipment and have gone into lab research. And if you want to look at actual molecules, it goes into the millions, and you can look at different pesticides, you can look at medicines. I think the idea of trying to go to Mars in search of a chemical when we have already synthesized so many, and we have synthesized actual atoms, anyone can mix together 2 different things and make a Kool-Aid, right? Just a chemical blend, whatever. But to actually make elements here on Earth, I don't know, the idea of going to Mars to try and find something that we could potentially just synthesize here on Earth for almost a quarter of the cost, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of, it is organic and it's a lot more plentiful up there. I don't know. There's just kind of that's kind of where I'm at.
It's kind of hard to look at that. And I think that, I agree with you. There's a lot of technology is amazing, and we've come so far in the last few years.
You look at Elon Musk and he's already done so much.
He's nuts. And he's a really great, I guess, scientist. And talking about the technology side of things, I know you said earlier, that you believe that we can spend money into Earth and into our people and into the things that are happening here rather than going into Mars. And would you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like you stated before, it's estimated that the actual colonization of Mars, shipping people there, the funding, and to just set up a colonization of 30 people is going to be $1.7 trillion, right? And I did a little bit of research of where we could better invest that, and of course the first thing that comes, in this day and age, 20th century, 21st century, we think of poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are 47.6 million people currently living in the United States who are in poverty, with little to no running water, no electricity, and unstable living conditions. 47.6 million women and children and men. And poverty is an issue that's almost incurable, I'd dare say. It's pretty incurable. But the estimated cost to actually alleviate poverty is about 3.3 trillion. And if you look at the 1.7 trillion for Mars, you could end up helping over half of those individuals with that amount of money. So you take the 46.7 million people who are in poverty, you can help half of those. So let's just round it out and say 20 million, just to be generous. You're still helping 20 million people get out of poverty for the price of sending 30 people to a foreign planet where they are far away from any kind of help or aid they may need. They are on the opposite side of the solar system as far as we're concerned. And it'd be a great achievement, but you could help potentially 20 million people here at home for that same amount of money.
Yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from. There is a lot of benefit that could go into those certain individuals, and that's horrible. I hate seeing that. I've seen that a lot. I've been around the world in a few different places, as I know you have, and you see that poverty, and it just makes your heart ache a little bit. And And I think that going along with this, that the advancements that come, I told you a little bit earlier in the podcast, right, that technology will advance with a specific goal, right? And I looked at some of the evidence that I saw from technology that's come already from people preparing to colonize Mars. And, I look at energy production, the 3D printed homes, for the homeless. There's the agriculture side of things. They've synthesized and genetically modified plants that will grow without soil, without water, that will absorb nutrients and chemicals and help them grow faster and to produce more nutritious and larger crop. Okay, and it grows faster and it's easier to produce. And I think that all these things, that it is very hard to measure. Like I said earlier, what is a human life worth? Is it worth more to spend our money here on Earth or to spend it, to another planet? And I agree with that's only going to be benefiting maybe 9 people that go to Mars. Their names will be written in history for forever. But I think that the technology that comes with an advanced goal, that's going to help millions of lives, okay? Especially in those specific categories, agriculture, energy production.
And I would agree, like you think of the Cold War, and the world was pretty divided, but when the entire world came together to advance space travel, that was really one of the few moments in history where the world was pretty united in a goal and in a cause. And I do think that the colonization of Mars I think that they were trying to pull as many different ethnicities and people from different countries as they could. I believe that there were people from South America who actually applied to be on the program for the first colonization of Mars, which I think is a huge unifying moment for us as a human race, right? Mm-hmm. And as you said, just like the amount of technology that could go into getting that unified goal, I do believe that is possible. I don't know if you need to involve colonization of Mars. I believe that you could achieve all those same things and all those same goals just by doing what you're doing now and just sending robots, just sending mechanical engineers. You could go up there with robots, which they've already done, mm-hmm. and you could use robots to do that same kind of agriculture, do that same kind of mining, and send all that stuff back on the spaceship back here to Earth where we can use it without risking human lives, without doing the excess cost for food and water and living space. You could get the same benefits for less cost and for less risks to human lives just with mechanics, really.
I agree. I think that's a very valid point. There, especially with the advancements in robotics, there's a very possible chance that robots could do what humans could do without the risking of human lives. And I think that's a very valid point. I think that, these leading companies, these space exploration companies, will be the advancements in that technology that will allow, whether it's humans or whether it's robots. I think that's a wonderful idea. I've never even thought of that before. But I think that, as we continue to invest and support these companies, that as they proceed with their goals, it could benefit the human race in the terms of technology and in the terms of resource collection. And I like what you said about without the human risk. And I think that's a wonderful idea. And I think that as we continue to invest and support in these companies, that technology will advance, the human race will be better off for technology advancing. And I think that's wonderful. So I'll give you the go ahead to share kind of your concluding thoughts and whatnot, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Well, just to kind of summarize all of my thoughts, I guess, and everything that I've kind of learned from just reading up on this topic. The colonization of Mars is a wonderful, fantastical idea that offers a lot of promises and a lot of benefits to the human race as a whole, mm-hmm. and to society just in general. And really will mark the next step in human evolution as far as the rest of the history of mankind will know. But I believe that the risks, and they're just the human lives that are at risk, and the money that is at risk, and just the hypotheticals of how much money we actually can make for net cost versus what would gain. Mm-hmm. I think that in the future, if we were able to maybe narrow that gap, maybe instead of $1.7 trillion, if we were able to narrow that gap, and we were able to alleviate some of our own poverty here on Earth at the same time, feel like then might be a more opportune moment to colonize Mars. I feel like right now we have enough problems here at home. We have wars going on, and we have cyber attacks, and we have poverty, and we have huge inflation and job crises across the world. I just don't feel like it's an opportune time. I feel like invest your money now on the problems that are here, and when the dust is kind of settled and things are taken care of here at home, then is the time to maybe step forward to that next stage.
Wonderful, thank you. And I really appreciated Dylan's thoughts today, and they've been very valid and very eye-opening. And I again want to state, I do believe that as we move towards Mars, that the technology that will advance will definitely help us as a human race. And I agree, it's not necessarily the should we. I think a good question is to ask is when should we? And I believe that there will be a lot of benefits that will come from us, going to Mars and us advancing technologically and us working towards this goal of helping humans, not only, in the process of colonizing Mars, but helping humans here on Earth. And I feel like they, a lot of times, will go together and they will be cohesive.
Yeah, I feel like the focus of both of these goals is to help mankind.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's really just comes down to the question of what's the best way to do that right now.
Exactly, precisely. So thank you, Dylan, for coming on to the little podcast here today. And thank you guys all for listening. And hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your day.